Hello, everyone, and welcome to Confronting Injustice. I am your host, Linda Solomon, and I'm so glad you've joined us this evening. On this program, we believe that democracy works best when people are informed, engaged, and willing to participate in conversations that shape our communities. Today, we're taking a closer look at an important part of the democratic process that many people know virtually nothing about: the effort required for an independent candidate to earn a place, just to earn a place on the Massachusetts ballot. Unlike candidates from the major political parties, independent candidates must complete a petition process, gather thousands of certified signatures from registered voters, and meet strict deadlines before voters even have the opportunity to consider them on Election Day. First, I'd like to introduce Kelly. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Linda.
And Laura, thank you as well. Kelly, why don't you, I know that you're the director of...
Field director for Andrea's campaign. Basically, I'm responsible for recruiting volunteers, whether it's to collect signatures or to host events, do standouts, and do visibility for the campaign. So I'm the one that reaches out to volunteers and tries to recruit them. And as you mentioned, it's a very daunting task. We have to collect 10,000 signatures in a short period of time. And the time started ticking once Andrea picked a lieutenant governor. So we could not start collecting signatures until she found a lieutenant governor and that she and that lieutenant governor were vetted. And then we could start collecting signatures. And right now we're halfway through. Exactly 4 weeks from today is the deadline. Okay. So it's a daunting task. And this is a grassroots campaign.
Right.
None of us are paid. We're all volunteers.
Wow, okay.
Other people that run, they have the privilege of being funded, and they can pay their people to collect signatures. We can't do that. So this is truly a grassroots, all volunteer-based led campaign. Okay. So, we have volunteers all over the state, whether it's the Berkshires or Worcester or Greenfield, Lowell, Boston,
wow,
the Cape, the Islands, South Shore.
Wow.
So we have various people around helping us with this, task.
And before you introduce yourself, Laura, question. Just based on what you said, it doesn't even sound like it's a fair process, because for people who are already in those positions, they have money.
Right, exactly.
And so,
yeah, and that's a barrier that we have in Massachusetts. Where it's interesting because 65% of Massachusetts voters are unenrolled.
Say that again, because that's major. I don't know if people really
65% of Massachusetts voters are unenrolled, which means they're not affiliated with the Democratic or the Republican Party. So they are, by all means, independent. Okay. And because of that, the barriers for third party or independents to get on the ballot, to have access is really difficult. So besides the lack of funds, the lack of resources, the lack of visibility. Because if you are reading anything about the election process, it's Maura Healey and her Republican challengers. Right. Maura Healey and her Republican, blah, 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 blah. They're not even talking about
the
independent candidates.
Which is so unfortunate. It's almost like a setup. It's like stay in your lane. We want people either on one side or the other.
Right.
Laura, we'll come back to that. But we thank you for being here. And I know you're one of the volunteers that's been working effortlessly. Can you tell us about what you're doing, why you wanted to get involved, why you became involved, and what you've been doing?
So I have been doing 20 years of advocacy for women and domestic violence and the issues around family court injustices. Okay, I was also incarcerated. People in Massachusetts may find this hard to believe, but I was actually incarcerated and my right to a lawyer was denied in the family court system.
How is that possible? Isn't that illegal?
Yes, but try to fight it if you're behind bars. And it was a 30-day sentence plus 6 months of criminal court community service for $300 that didn't come out of a checking account because I refused to give my abuser access to my routing numbers because he had already been investigated for stealing money and a few other things. So we do have a pending legislation as we speak on litigation abuse, which I'm part of the TRAC coalition as well.
Okay.
So, which I was so happy to finally see grow and emerge. And so I think in understanding what happened to me, that there's an increasing problem where victims who have to share custody with an abuser or a rapist or a pedophile, they're gaining custody at a rate of 70 to 80%. And a protective mama bear who wants to go and fight and try to show they may not have the financial resources, or they may not present well in court because of PTSD, to be able to sit in front of being forced to sit in front of their abuser. But family court judges have increasingly been using the prison system to silence and discredit victims of domestic violence in civil courts. Yes.
So I'm sure one of the reasons why we have this conversation is because it's to expose information and to expose stories that would not otherwise be shared.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it was a tactic to discredit me, to discredit people, so people, if they found out when I was in self-employed, that they wouldn't utilize my business, all these things. And it was, there's all kinds of terminology. So I had already been lobbying on a few bills. We helped get coercive control passed in the state successfully, but I had found out about the No New Women's Prison bill, and I was one of the few voices, because women who were incarcerated or facing incarceration, like, I just became free from my abuser in October 2024 when I left him in 2005. So do the math of how trapped I was in this system that is for profit.
Right.
So there's a lot of for-profit groups that target and destroy families while also supporting and elevating. It's a whole other complicated story, but for another day. But when I found out about the No New Women's Prison, that's how I got to meet Andrea. And then when I learned about her work, I started really getting intrigued with what she was able to accomplish. And one of the things that I've been finding challenging is seeing people that I care about and love, use social media to vent and complain about what's wrong, and not understanding that doesn't create change.
Right.
That doesn't create anything except create you stuck in a bubble and a loop of anger and exhaustion. And so I started inviting people over to my house and having conversations.
Grassroots. That's really grassroots.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Andrea came to the house one day, and I just said, how did I not meet you? There's just something about her that when you meet her, she's so well spoken. She's exactly, if people who get a chance and a privilege to actually meet her and listen to her work and what she has done, every single voter in the state of Massachusetts is going to want her. It's one of those things you can't put in without seeing and witnessing from there forward.
Right.
To introducing her to groups that are more privileged, and seeing just the dialogue and going back and forth. I volunteered on the Marianne Williamson campaign as well, so I got to learn a lot by watching them in action and engaged in communities, and I have never been disappointed. If nothing more, I've been more and more convinced of why she needs to be governor.
It's interesting. We will have to talk about your story another time, just because I'm kind of blown away just by that little bit of what you said. But I do agree with you that Andrea James, once you meet her and you hear her story, she is a real person. She believes in distributive leadership. Right? She's a community person. She's a mom. She's struggled. She's accomplished. She's done so much. This people-led campaign, I'm doing everything that I can to support her, because
she's got real life experience.
She
and I think everyday people can relate to that.
Exactly.
You see these elected officials that stand up and they don't even know what the cost of anything is. They don't know
Exactly.
what it's like to go without anything. They don't know what it takes to fill a gas tank,
Right.
or pay electric bill, or go without food.
Right.
And she does. She brings real life experience, and that is valuable because people don't want a politician. They want somebody that they can relate to, and they want an activist, somebody that's a community organizer, somebody that's fought for real issues and that cares about real issues that are affecting working class families in Massachusetts.
But I think I want to say too is how I see Andrea and witnessing her, and I'm going over probably about 6 or 7 years since she kind of came on my radar, is she reminds me of what FDR did for the American people. She is the FDR on a smaller scale because FDR lifted from the bottom up, and that's how we got a flourishing middle class. And so Andrea has done that in her own communities, and the things that I've even been privileged just to witness and just as an observer and witness and how people relate to her and who she's impacted, and just seeing that spiral, I go, this is what we need. This is, you can't put this into words.
I'm right there with you. Listen, I went to a conference in Baltimore a few weeks ago, and there was a woman there, Gwen Levi, who was like, oh my God, I know she saved my life.
Wow.
Like, this is not just local. Andrea is, she is someone who needs to be in a leadership position because she's going to make a difference in people's lives.
Yes.
The decisions
But the
that...
status quo doesn't want that.
Oh, no. That's why they would set it up so that anyone would need 10,000 votes.
Signatures.
Right. In this kind of a grassroots campaign, it's just a daunting task. As I said, the people that are in there, the other people that are running, whether it's lifetime politicians or wealthy businessmen that are running against Mara, they are able to pay people, and we can't do that.
Well, I think for anyone who's watching, anyone who has a concern about just human rights, just basic humanity, like, just the average person, middle class, wherever you are in that spectrum, everyone wants to be listened to, everyone wants to be heard, everyone wants to feel some sense of connection.
Correct.
And I believe that Andrea has the foundation, the lived experience, and clearly she graduated with Maura Healey. They graduated in the same class, so clearly she's an educated woman.
Right.
But with all this experience is what people need.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I would want to challenge people who say, because I've met people who said, "Oh, I'm voting for Maura." Why?
Right.
Well, just because. Because what?
Right.
Make it make sense. Whatever you do should make sense. It should be based in logic.
I think we have lost the ability to have conversations around without actually calling people names and going into just that rhetoric. When we can sit, that also comes to emotional intelligence, right?
Absolutely.
When we can sit in a
Absolutely.
room and have a conversation and just say, well, tell me why. And if they can't tell you why, then why are you against somebody if you can't even tell me why you're for somebody?
Exactly.
And especially when I know I've invested just watching initially from behind the scenes of what Andrea was doing. And she just, over time, like, I honestly, out of all the bills I've lobbied for, I think one of the legislative sessions, I think it was 11 bills I either testified for or against on. It was exhausting. And going to the State House and going and meeting with politicians and trying to foster relationships. And trust me, for those who are listening, I was one of those that did not vote. I was one of those that never took action until I was stuck in a system that harmed me and my children. So you're talking 30 plus years of my life, I was an inactive, non-participant in the system of what we're talking about. So I get it for those of you who might feel it. So as somebody who was that person, I'm also saying we cannot create change without action. And it doesn't mean go on social media and share something. It means donate. It means get in the room with her, ask her the hard questions, make the decisions, show up, be part of that change. Don't sit on the sidelines while the rich and the billionaires And the PAC funds make decisions about your future, your children's future, and your because this is like beyond. Those are older, like we might skate by, but those that are like under 30, like they're going to be paying the price heavily if we don't make a shift soon. Mandami succeeded at it in New York, and there's others that are succeeding. We can succeed here. Absolutely. It's whether or not you and whoever is listening is willing to take that step outside your front door and actually make that next action step and be part of that change momentum.
That's right. And it's a community, so you're not, when you step outside your door, you're not by yourself. There is a community. You know, people want to, I think people want to do something, they just don't know what to do.
Right. They want to be connected.
They want to be connected.
Yeah.
And Andrea is accessible. I don't think that you're going to hook up with Maura Healey or any, like, they're not even accessible. They're like way up here making decisions about our lives that we don't have any control or any say in it. And that's
even if you go to the State House and you want to talk about an issue that you care about, you're met by her staffers. You never are able to talk to her about anything. We've gone multiple times in groups that I'm involved in. I mean, over the past 20 years, I've spent my time as a community activist, union organizer. I've worked on various campaigns, national, state, and local campaigns. And I'm deeply committed to changing the power structure. And I think that's what Andrea is about too. Too many people, or too few people have the power. And I firmly believe that real change starts with grassroots advocacy, boots on the ground. You have to get out in the community. You have to have those tough conversations. And I see myself in the roles I've played in the community, able to reach across the aisle to talk to people, because actually the truth is we have more in common
than not.
Absolutely. We have more in common with an immigrant. We have more in common with the school janitor than we do with the billionaires and trillionaires, that the U.S. oligarchs that are running our government and giving us scraps. And Massachusetts is a very rich state. We have plenty of money. But where that money is being allocated is the problem. It's being given to the wealthy. It's been given to the corporate donors. It's been given to AI, with tax breaks. I mean, these are the things that hardworking Americans want. They want Medicare. That's how I met Andrea, was because I was a advocate for Medicare for All, which is single-payer health care. And I met Andrea at a Mass Care conference. And once, I understood that she too believed that health care is a human right.
Absolutely.
I was all in. And I was like, I will do whatever I can, because these are the issues. That's one of the issues that really spoke to me. And I'm not a single issue voter, but there are key issues that I support, that Andrea supports, and I knew that I wanted to be part of this change.
Can I just say, because as I'm listening to you, Kelly, I keep thinking, the whole thing, like when Reagan got elected, it was trickle-down economics, right? And you give the breaks to the rich, and it will filter down to everybody else.
Oh, really?
I'm still waiting. Hold on.
And what I keep seeing is, like with Andrea, just witnessing, and what I've seen her do is trickle up.
Right.
And when you support the bottom, the crime rate goes down, incarceration goes down, drug use goes down. I can make a list of all the things. Gun violence, mass shootings, like the whole thing gets turned around. And she has always lifted from the bottom, trickled up from the bottom up. And when we do that as a society, that is what has been erased over the last 30, 40 years. And when we have to remember, how do we build from the bottom up again? Stop with the top down. The top down is what has gotten us broken again. It's from the bottom up. And do we know our neighbors? Do we know how to even talk to our neighbors? Even if they are a different race, culture, ethnicity, immigrant, non-immigrant,
political party,
red, purple, blue, whoever you are, and actually talk to each other as a human being with a beating heart and a soul. Because we have lost that piece, and that has been so strategic.
Absolutely. It's not
so
by chance.
strategic. When we have right now taxpayer money that wants to be spent on a $360 million women's prison, $420 million going towards AI, another I think $400 million cut in community service-based programs. I'm sitting there going like, wait a minute. People are saying this, we're not getting this in our schools. Wait a minute, Hingham wants to go and sell senior housing to developers, and they can't have, but they don't have the money to build a senior center. Middleborough and Bridgewater, are fighting over water because big money developers want to keep building, but there's no water to put through the hoses. And I can make a list. Quincy's got its own issues. What Andrea knows, she is a problem solver, and she knows how to, as somebody who used to do financial services, if you've got X amount of dollars, how do you get the best bang for your buck? Right. And Andrea will know how to do that because she has done it. Right. She has done it. And
she's
I just
done it in
wish.
her own life, and she's done it for an international corporation organization that she's been running. So that's real life experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to say this. This is not a black or white issue. We're looking at the character of individuals, and we should be looking at a proven track record, right? And so I want people so this is an invitation for people to think outside the box, right? And put all of the obstacles that might be in our way out of the way and just look at what makes sense. Who is supporting me, who's most likely to support me, and who's not. Right. And to not vote is a vote for the opposition. It really is. Yeah.
We have to start realizing that we have gotten privileged and complacent in the United States in general at if you stay home and don't vote, if you stay home and don't show up to your town meetings, if you show up but you complain about what's wrong, that is because you're privileged. Because other countries don't have that privilege, and we have lost what it takes to take back our country, to take back our towns, and it takes us showing up.
That's right. Every single person. Right. And we don't want people to be sitting at home thinking, well, I'm just one vote, it doesn't matter. Right. It does matter. Right. Your voice matters.
Right.
Right.
And I understand it. When I started, doing all this activism 20 years ago and working on these campaigns, and I went to a lot of gateway cities and different places because the issues that my candidate supported were issues that were going to help these people. And I wanted to go there and say, here's somebody worth voting for. And people were like, no, I don't vote. And I'm like, well, your employer does, your landlord does, all these other people do vote. And I get it. I honestly get it because I've witnessed firsthand.
I was one of those people.
Right. I've witnessed firsthand voters that are disenfranchised, right?
Yes, yes.
And why? Because the elected officials
We're not representing them.
Don't represent them. So I understand that. And when you finally have somebody worth voting for, it's frustrating because you're like, I get it, I know where you're coming from, but this person is different. And they're like, yeah. Because of the system, because we've had this so much. And Massachusetts is one of the least transparent, least effective, and we have the least amount of contested races.
So all the more reason why we need to have Andrea on the ballot.
People just don't bother running against people, and so people aren't excited. Most people are not excited, and I don't get excited about voting for people either until it's somebody like Andrea James, and then I'm like, you know what? This is the excitement. This is the passion, and that's why you couldn't pay enough, volunteers, because the people that really believe in her want to support her.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, I know you're becoming emotional, and I understand it because it really, really, really is about being seen, being heard, and people taking your best interest in heart.
Right.
And that's what it's really all about. That's what she's about. And so I want to encourage people.
She's a real leader.
She is. She's
unapologetically.
Unapologetic. She is. She is. And so, So you're halfway through the signature mark. What can people do if they want to get more information? They want to sign, make sure their name and their family and friends are.
We welcome everyone, anybody that's listening and that wants to be part of the campaign. We're looking for people to help collect signatures. We figured if we just get 10 people, right, in a certain area that can volunteer a certain amount of time and collect 100 signatures each. You know what I mean? It makes it easier. We do it in groups. Laura and I have done it. We try to recruit other people to do it. We do it and make it like a social event, and it's fun. And it's really, we build each other up by, learning about how to approach volunteers. So I say, come on to the website. It's www.ajforma.com. You can sign up there and be. You can volunteer. We also have events going on where people can come. We're doing periodic meet and greets and standouts where people can get involved. And the visibility piece is important because just last week we did a meet and greet in Randolph, and we did a standout before that. And people came to the event because they said, we saw you. So to me, that's important because they said, yeah, and we're out there holding signs, rent control, Medicare for all, no new women's prison, and people see these and they're like, I want to be part of this. Who are these people, and how do we get involved? And so that brings the excitement. It brings people all different walks of life, young people, older people, everybody that's maybe experienced it. Like I said, activism is. Part of that is educating our neighbors, right? Educating our coworkers, educating our elected officials why they need to pass Medicare for all. You know what I mean? And now we fast forward to today, where we're having an affordability crisis for healthcare, right? But we already have a solution right here. So, and that's the thing that people need to know. We have a solution here, but our elected officials are not putting this solution out there.
Right. Well, it's not an issue for them.
No.
I bet you no one.
They have great health care.
They have great health care. So they're not concerned about that. No. And so we have to be concerned about it. And I want people to know, it doesn't matter what your position is. If you are a registered voter, if you want to help, if having a good quality of life matters to you, then you want to get involved in the process.
Right.
Yeah, and I also know from talking to Andrea, she is looking forward to working with Diana DiZaglio to make sure the audit happens.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how much time we have, but we...
That could be a whole nother segment, right?
I know, I just want to be clear, so let's recap. So Andrea needs 10,000 registered signatures.
So she needs 10,000 certified signatures. And when we say that, that means that we have to be out in these communities, right? We have our sheets, our clipboards, and every town has their own sheet. So if I go to a certain place, I have to make sure that I'm collecting it from that town, right? And then that has to be brought to the town clerk or the city clerk. And those voters that have signed the roll to nominate her to get on the ballot have to be verified. So it has to make sure that, first of all, the signature is legible. The signature matches the address that they're registered at. And then it has to make sure that they actually are
registered.
Yes. And then once they do that whole process, which is very slow in a lot of places, by design as well. The city of Boston is one of the worst. It's taking weeks and weeks and weeks to get things back.
Really?
Yeah. And so some cities and some towns are much better, and we're trying to do it on a rolling basis, so we're not saving everything at once.
Right.
But technically, we have to collect more like 15,000 signatures to get the 10,000.
To get the legitimate ones.
Because things are getting rejected. People think they were registered in this town, but they're not really. They put the wrong address. Or
didn't write clearly.
They didn't write clearly. Whatever reason, they will get rejected. And so we want to be productive with our time. We don't want to waste our time. We want to make sure that we're out there, that we're talking to people, that we're telling them about it. But also, we're saying, well, people will say, well, I don't know anything about her. It's
but this is just an opportunity so that she can be put on the ballot.
Right.
You're not voting for or against her.
We hope you do, but if we don't get your signature and she doesn't get on the ballot, you won't be able to vote for her.
All you're signing when you sign on the sheet is just for Massachusetts to have another option. You're not voting for, you're not voting against. It is what we should all be fighting for, and that's the opportunity of choice.
That's right.
And democracy. I mean, if you really support democracy, then you support choices. You should support anybody that gets on the ballot. Again, you're not voting for them by signing these papers. You're allowing them to get on the ballot. And the whole process is, as we discussed earlier, there's a lot of barriers to getting an independent on the calendar, the ballot. And, it shouldn't be that way. I mean, if we had election reforms, we could probably rank choice voting and things like that. We would be able to do this. But as you mentioned, the two parties want to maintain the status quo. So they don't want those. They want to keep their power.
Listen, ladies, I thank you for being here. And hopefully you have the opportunity to come back and talk about what a success this was.
Right.
I look forward to it.
Yes, thank you.
I do, and thank you so much, Linda, for the opportunity. We really appreciate you taking the time to hear about Andrea's campaign and the work that we're doing, and to get it out to your audience. It's really important that people know that this is the process that's going on, and
that's right. And how they can become involved, and why they should become involved.
Get off the couch.
There you go. And bring a friend.
Come help us.
Change doesn't happen behind your phone, your computer screen, or on the sofa. It happens when you step out and you meet the challenges, you meet candidates, you go into grassroots organizing and all those things, and you need to get into the room.
Right. And be in community, because you're in community, meeting friends, meeting. So
it's important for
building
that conversation.
relationships.
The face-to-face conversation is what's really important, and that's talking to people and not just telling them about what Andrea's key issues are, but finding out what is important to them.
Right. That's right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda.